Let's do the hair. And we'll be working with facial guides and reference points throughout this procedure as well. So it's really important to start paying attention to your client's face and face structure because you're going to be utilizing a lot of it throughout the entire cut. Very popular. It's being worn by so many different types of women and a lot of varying lengths as well in this procedure. The first thing I want to do is find out, do they wear a side part, or do they like to change it from side to side, do they wear it just down the middle? That's how you're going to determine how you're going to section the hair. The first thing that we're going to do is section the hair from the center of the forehead up to the high point. What's the high point called?
Apex.
Apex. Very good.
You guys
Very
are
good.
good, man.
And then we're going to section it from the front to the back. So I'm going to take the wide tooth of my comb, I'm going to draw it up to the highest point, and stop the comb there using my index finger to pull the hair away from the parting.
Even if they have a side part?
If they have a side part, you would part it directly to that side part if they're always going to wear it that way. If they want to switch it, always do it to the middle. Okay. Now, once we've created our center part, you're then going to go to the side and go from the high point down to where the ear connects to the head. And I'm going to place my finger at the ear where I want the comb to go to. And I'm going to draw that comb down to my finger as if it were a magnet and pull that hair away for a nice clean parting.
Did you say the center of the ear? Or where?
Or where the ear connects to the head.
Yeah.
So on everybody it's going to be different.
Okay.
You're going to repeat that on the other side. So you're going to actually have 3 quadrants, bless you, or 3 sections.
Bless you.
The back is going to be 1 large section and then your 2 front sections. So this is what it'll look like. Okay, everybody with me? Excellent. So the first thing you want to do is you want to cut the desired length of the hair. How long do you want the back? So instead of sectioning this all off, you're going to comb it straight down and cut it. Simply because we're going to go through and layer it anyway, so why are we going to section it all off? It's just a waste of time. You're going to start in the very center with a section, and you're going to cut it down to the length that they want it at. We're going to take about 1 inch off. I'm working palm to palm. My fingers are reflecting the angle that I'm cutting. I'm then going to comb straight down and work from the center out to the ear, looking for my guide to disappear into my comb and removing the comb when cutting. Short, small snips to the grooves of your fingers, only to your second knuckle. Why do we only go to the second knuckle? What's that?
There's a gap.
There's a gap from your second knuckle on, and also, what else could happen? Ow, yeah, cut yourself.
They are so advanced. They don't even know it. They are. We would have never known that.
They're good, they are good.
Because of you, Mr. Don.
No, I just coach them. So again, I'm just working from the center out. Why wouldn't I want to cut from one side to the other when cutting the back?
Because one side gets longer than the other.
One side could get longer than the other. We tend to drift down or drift up. If you cut your distance in half, you're going to be more accurate. Very good. I'm coming straight down. I'm directing all that hair from behind the ear to my back guide as well, because I want to allow for the protrusion of the ear, so when that hair dries, it's not going to bounce up higher than the rest of your design line along the back and sides. You want to check for balance and proportion, making sure by combing all that hair over your hand as if your hand was a table. Place your comb underneath to check for balance by tapping the hair into the spine of the comb, and you come down, and this will show you at eye level where you need to go in and make adjustments.
I love that.
Okay, we're ready to move on. We have our length cut. Now, we want to go on to the front area and start creating our face framing, our layers around the face. This will also give your client a lot of style options too. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a small amount of hair at the center part, on both sides of that center part. So you're almost using a little bit of a triangular section. You're going to comb that hair out, making sure that you're removing any tangles or any hair that might be buckling. Comb the rest of that hair out of your way. And what you want to do in the front, I call this the danger zone. The hairline in the front is finer, usually has growth patterns, so it's going to bounce up when it dries. So you always want to make sure that you release tension when cutting that front area. And I use the wide tooth of my comb to allow me to do that. So once I've decided where she wants her face framing layers to start, use the wide tooth of your comb, come down to where they want it to start, release that tension. Notice I'm not pulling that hair at all, and cut. Now you have a front guide. That's where our face framing is going to start. So you're going to split that section back in half so that it falls on both sides of the front of the head. And now what you want to do is you want to look for a line of references on the face where you're going to cut this angle to. For this side, it's going to be somewhere over here. For this side, it'll be somewhere over here. The steeper you want your angle, the more you're going to over-direct that hair around the opposite side of the face. What I typically use is the center of the eye, the side of the mouth, and the side of the chin for the angle on this side, and vice versa. I do that from this side. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to position myself to where my shears cut downward because we want to preserve length. We want to work from short to long. When you work from long to short, what happens is hair falls into the shears, you can cut too much off. When you work downhill, the hair falls away from the shears, you tend to not cut too much off. You can always go back and remove more, but you can't put it back on once it's cut. Does that make sense? Okay, so for everybody that's right-handed, you'll start on the left side of the head with your arm going around the top of the head like this, almost like you're going to put them in a headlock, but you're not going to. And you're going to start with small sections, no more than 1 inch wide, by combing that hair straight down to the side of the face as if you're framing the face, not forward, but to the side. Come down, your knuckles are pushing that comb until you see that guide disappear into your comb. Then, with my body, I'm going to walk all the way around until I line my fingers and my comb up with my facial points. And then I'm going to start cutting the hair to my second knuckle. That will now become my next guide. So I'm going to come back to this side. I'm going to comb that hair straight down. And I'm going to stop at that point of the hair I just recently cut. Wait for it to disappear into my fingers and comb. Come all the way around until my fingers and comb are lined up with my facial guides and cut. That'll become my next guide. I'm going to keep doing this until I see my back guide in my fingers. Making sure that you're not just standing behind them, that you're walking all the way around, cutting short, small snips over your knuckles. And you can see we're starting to get a nice angle. Come down to the last piece that you had just cut. Come over. Fingers push that comb until you're ready to remove that comb. Keep coming using the last piece that you cut as a guide. Come around, line your fingers up. Cut short, small snips in the grooves of your fingers to your second knuckle. Now we're getting around to the back sides here, so we know eventually we're going to start connecting it to our back guide, and you'll see another short point to connect to once you get far enough.
So you're not going from the short in the front.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
You're not going from this point.
Well, that's where we started. That's our guide from starting this cut. You have to have a short point to start. If you don't, you're just cutting hair and you're guessing at what you're doing. So every piece that I've cut following that guide is my new guide.
Oh.
Okay, so now I'm getting down to the bottom. Comb it straight down, again, before pivoting over to your facial guides. And there's my back guide there, so I know I can connect the two. And I've just created my angle on this side.
Beautiful.
So you guys see how that works? Okay, now I'm going to do the other side. So the other side, in order to cut downhill, you have to somewhat stand in front of them. for your shears to go downhill. So I'm going to start again, just like we did before, combing that hair down to the side of the face as if you're framing the face. Fingers push that comb till you get to your guide, then pivot over to the other side where your fingers line up with the center of the eye, the side of the mouth, and the side of the chin. Remove that comb and cut. That'll now become my next guide. Take another section of hair, no more than an inch at a time, comb it down to the side of the face first, then pivot your body all the way over and cut. Work from section to section. Keep going until you connect your back guide, but use your previous guide that you had just cut to create that angle. Short, small snips. Never separate your combing fingers when doing this.
So on
This
your
will help
opposite
balance
side,
and accuracy.
you're cutting under, right?
Yeah, this side I'm actually cutting under, this side I'm cutting over my knuckles. Good observation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, good observation on that.
Yeah. Yeah, you will see during haircuts, guys, you're gonna change your body positioning a lot. Don't be afraid to do that. That's why we have hips and legs.
I never even knew that, girl. So you learn something every time. This must be the 100th time I've seen this, right, Mr.
Yeah,
Don?
you have, she's been in here a lot for this. Now, as I'm coming down to my last guide, I'm going to pivot over, and I can see my bottom guide right there from the back. Now I'm just going to connect those two. And I've just completed the entire design for the face frame. Now, what we want to do is we want to check for balance and accuracy. So what you want to do is have your client lean forward. And you're going to stand in front of them, and you're going to comb that hair to the side to check for balance and to see where you need to make any adjustments if necessary. And we're looking good. Looking real good. Now we want to clean that layer up. So we're going to go in and we're going to look for taper that might have traveled beyond our design when creating it. And you're going to start on either side, it doesn't matter, but now you want to position yourself to work uphill. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to stand directly in front of that section. I'm going to come down into that angle and into the same angle that I've cut it. And what I'm looking for is little pieces of taper like this that travel beyond the design. I'm coming down, working from the bottom up just to create a cleaner line. Getting all those edges and working from long to short this time. We're not cutting, we're just cleaning up. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side.
So you don't over direct it, you just,
Right, we're just coming down and giving that angle a bend a little bit and going
Okay.
uphill, removing that cleanup. Now this side I'm just kind of smoothing it out over my fingers and just removing those little pieces. I'm not doing any massive cutting. If I see big pieces coming off, I need to get back into cutting position because now we're in cleaning position. Okay, so now we've got a nice clean angle all the way around the head. We've got our front and our back connected. We've just
Nice.
created the perimeter. Now think of when you were little, you all had color books, right? You all colored. What was the first thing you would do when you would color the picture?
Outline?
You would outline the picture first. That's what you're doing here. You're creating your outline of your picture. So we have our point of destination now. Now we're going to do our long layers. We've only created our face framing, our perimeter. Now we need a point of origin, a place to begin, because we have our place to end already. Now we need a place to begin our layers. So you're going to take a small section of hair at the crown area, which is right where the curvature of the head starts moving back down, a small piece that falls on both sides of that center part. And you don't want to go any larger than this, because if you have to make an adjustment, this will be easier to hide. Now, if you take a big hunk of hair and you cut it and it's like, oh my God, that's not what she wanted, you can't hide it. So our guide should be small, large enough to see, but small enough to adjust. Comb that up, finding out where they want their first layer on the top of their head to fall. I always show them by holding the hair down to the side. You know, and we're going to take her first layer at jaw length. We want it to fall right with her jaw is. So fingers and comb together. Go ahead and cut. Now you're going to take that guide and lay it right down your center part. And you're going to take a parting from that guide all the way down to your front guide. You want to comb that hair out of your way that you're not working with, because right now we're just creating our top guide for our long layers. You're going to comb this hair straight up, making sure that your front guide is in your fingertips, the front guide that you created before. And you're going to pivot from your front guide to your guide at the crown that you have just cut. And you're going to remove that hair that falls in between the 2 points. You've now just created your top guide, your point of origin. You have a place to start your layers, you have a place to end your layers. Now, what we have to do is connect our top to our bottom. This will create layers and it'll still maintain the length. So resection your center part back in there so that guide falls on both sides of the head. And now we're going to start taking, let me just sweat her down a little bit more. Now we're going to start taking sections, the width of our comb, starting from that front area. You're going to be actually standing aside of the client facing the same way as that client. You'll start on the left side of the head. You're going to comb that hair straight up till you see your 2 guides in view and pivot so that your bottom falls out. You don't want to cut that length anymore, you already did. But as soon as it falls out, you know that's okay to go ahead and start cutting the hair in between. You're then going to split that section in half and add it onto your next section, no larger than the width of the comb. You're going to comb that hair straight up till you see your top guide, and then pivot your elbow up to allow your bottom to fall out and connect the 2. Split that section in half. And what I'm doing is I'm working from a guide to a guide. I have no guesswork. I know where I need to cut. And I'm also using what we call open book partings. This tells me where I've been, where I'm at now, and where I'm going to next. So I'm working clean, I'm working organized, and I'm working efficiently. And what does efficiency mean?
Doing it right the first time.
Doing it right the first time. Very good. Okay, straight up, fingers pushing that comb till you see your top guide, and then elevate your elbow to let your bottom guide drop out, and remove the hair and cut. Split that section in half, overlap it onto your next section, work from section to section. You should never have any guesswork. If you're guessing at what you're doing, means you're not following the procedure. You should always have a guide to work from and a guide to work to.
Would you call that a pie section, Mr. Don?
When you're
almost.
around the front area,
It is.
you're almost using pie sections because you don't want to cut into that hair that's around the growth of the front hairline. So in that first area, yes, it looks almost like a pie section. But when you start working with your sections around the head, they actually look like the lines of a basketball. Straight up, pivot your elbow till your bottom falls out, and connect top to bottom.
Such a pretty haircut.
It really is. And it always comes out great every time if you follow your guides.
So much to remember.
The way you do it, it comes out good every time.
It really does, you know, and somebody, when they taught me this procedure, I had no method behind the layering I was doing, and then I started working with this procedure, and it was mistake-free every time. It came out consistently every time. I never guessed where I was at.
So you do that all around.
Yeah, so I'm walking, I'm not changing my body positioning at all. I'm walking around the head completely in the same position so that by the time I get done cutting, I'll actually be facing that client. I started facing the same direction as the client when I began the cut, but I will actually be facing the client as I finish the cut. Straight up to your top guide, pivot until you see your bottom fall out, and connect your top to your bottom, using your fingers and your comb together to maintain even control and tension. The more you elevate your elbow, the more of your design will fall out, and you'll have a thicker bottom area and length. The less you elevate, the more layering and weight you're gonna create, and the more layering or weight you're gonna remove. But you will create a lot of layering. So you wanna find out, do they like light layering? You would elevate your elbow more. Do they want more uniform layering? You would elevate your elbow less. Bless you.
So what is this considered, light or heavy?
This is light layering. I'm really maintaining a lot of length because I'm letting it really drop out. The key is to get all that hair smooth and watch for your guides. And fingers need to be married to that comb until you're ready to cut. Now I'm getting around the back side of the other side now. I'm getting up to the ear area. So I'm going to start curving my partings a little bit more towards the face. And you can see a guide and a guide. There's always a guide to cut from and a guide to cut to. My sections are no bigger than the comb. And I'm starting to angle my partings now towards the face here. And as I come up, fingers push that comb until I see that guide disappear into my comb. Then I'm going to pivot to allow the design to fall out. Split that section in half, add it into my next section. Let that fall out so you don't cut into that length. And then finish up with your last section, which is almost right down the middle. And now I'm pretty much right in front of that person. Okay, so now I want to do is I want to go in and I want to check my layers. I want to make sure that they're balanced, and I need to find out if I need to go back into cutting position anywhere and make any adjustments. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go to the very high point of the head, which is right here. And you're going to take a section that looks like the size of a perm rod, right across the top. And what you're looking for is a very wide V or a U. So, I don't know, because I'm really extended here. I don't know if you guys could see that, huh? But it should look like this.
Like a dolphin or whale fin. Like a
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. That's a really good way to look at it. I wouldn't have thought of that, but yes.
Yeah, thanks for the visualization.
So what you're looking for is a nice V or a U. You want to see it gradually get longer towards the end, and you want to see a center in the middle. Okay? This will tell me if I need to go back into cutting position. If you see like an area, and let me show you an example of what I mean of when you would need to get back into cutting position, it would be if you see a big step in the hair and it just doesn't blend. So let's say you have like something like that. That means you missed that top guide somewhere. You want to see gradual blending. And that would tell me, okay, I need to go back into cutting position on this side and take it and look for my guide. I must have missed my guide somewhere. And then I would go in and cut. Okay? But if you see that gradual V or U, you're looking good. Now it's time to clean your layers up. So we cut from the left to the right. We're going to clean up and check from the right back to the left. We're going to do what we call pinch partings now. This is a checking parting. You want to reestablish your center part. Smooth your hair out so you can glide through the hair freely to check it.
Look at all those layers, man.
And then you're going to start taking pinch partings. You're going to comb it up the same exact way that you cut it, holding it at the same angle, and all you're doing is looking for minimal cleanup, little taper that travels beyond your layered line. If you're seeing really, really big hunks of hair, you should go back into cutting position and remove that, because now you're working from long to short rather than short to long. And remember, we work short to long to preserve length. We work long to short to clean up. And I'm just coming back around now. I'm pinching out larger partings with my fingers following the comb, because I'm only going in and cleaning up. I overlap my pinch partings. I'm going to comb it in the same exact angle that I cut it, except now I'm working opposite with my fingers. just removing minimal taper that travels beyond your layered line. Work all the way around the head. Make sure you overlap all your sections so that you're not missing any of that hair that needs to be checked. And the key is to hold it in the same angle that you did when you cut it. I'm just pinching as I'm following the comb. Section for section. Hold it in the same angle and clean up any taper that travels beyond your line. Okay, and then at this point, this is where you would give them the comb and the brush and let them comb through their hair, and then if they like what you've got going on, you would proceed with your styling. And there you go, you have all that layer. See all that movement that you created from just, and you still have your length, but you removed all that weight out of the hair. And this will give them a lot of styling options as well. What questions do you guys have? It's really important to follow your facial guides. It's extremely important to maintain even tension and control of the hair. Fingers always have to be together with that comb until you're ready to cut. You shouldn't be sliding your fingers at all without that comb behind it. Good? I'm going to start writing the steps out on the board so you guys can follow it. But what I want you guys to do is go ahead and get your mannequins really dampened down. You don't have to shampoo them again if you don't want, but go ahead and spray them down really, really, really good because your hair needs to be thoroughly damp when doing this cut for nice, precise angles. All right, let's get started.
Thanks, guys, for everything.